Hello, and welcome back to the gardens. As you remember, my name is Miss Linda, and I'll be guiding you through your video lesson today. Thanks for joining me on the first dry day of the week in the garden. We're thankful for the rain though. It gives the soil the moisture that it needs for the plants to be able to draw up the nutrients to be healthy plants and produce the wonderful foods that we love to eat. As you know, this semester we're taking a look at the diversity in our gardens, not just plant and animal, but also cultural diversity. Come and join me and let's take a look around the Hintgen garden and see what's growing and what's commonly grown in this part of the world. Come on in. That was a nice tour, wasn't it? As you can see, there's a ton of diversity, which means a range of different things in this garden. I'm taking a closer look at one of my favorite vegetables that grow very commonly around this area of Wisconsin. And those are beans, especially lima beans. Taking a look inside. Remember the beans, I kind of have to push the leaves away to see if I can't find, here we go. Now beans I just like to pull or snap off. Take a look at that. Do you remember what a bean tastes like? How about how it feels or sounds? Ooh, look at that. Nice beans inside. These you can eat fresh or cook them up. I'm going to take a few more. Again, using both my hands and my harvesting gloves, I can make sure that I get the whole thing. All right, look at that. Oh, so many. Have you ever harvested beans before or any other fruit like this? When we're harvesting, we want to make sure that we're not taking every single one from the plant. That way we can leave more for the other creatures in the garden, because remember, not just plant diversity and cultural diversity, but also animal diversity exists in our garden. Now that I've got plenty of beans, I can move on to a different part of our garden, because like we said, there's lots growing here. Behind me, do you recognize this plant? Let's take a closer look. That's right, it's kale. This is a type called red Russian kale. Many times it's the biggest plant in the garden. These types of plants are quite common in this area because they tend to not be bothered by the cold. So we can start them earlier in the spring and they last well into the fall. When I harvest these plants, I like to put my harvest glove on, of course, and then I'm going to take a look inside. These plants are really neat as they keep producing from the center. So I want to work around that lower end to be snapping off some of these delicious leaves. Let's listen and watch. That sound of crispy green, delicious, nutritious fiber, I love it. I'm gonna put it in my harvest bowl here, and I'm going to take a few more leaves. Again, I'm working from the bottom and just snapping them off. Have you ever tasted a kale leaf before? What did it taste like? What did it feel like? Many times kale can be eaten raw or cooked for a delicious meal. Let's take a look at what else we have growing in the garden. Oh, there you are. You're sitting in the tomato bush. That's a good call because there's still some tomatoes to pick. Many times tomatoes do really well through the summer because they love the hot. So when things start getting a little cooler, as you can see, things start to get a little bit brown, but no fear because there's still lots of good ripe tomatoes left. This is a yellow pear tomato. All right. Well, thank you for your help with harvesting. There's a lot to choose from in our garden. I'm glad that we've chosen these 3 very common foods that are grown in our area. Well, we've got the bean, crunchy and green, the big kale leaf for our leafy greens, and ooh, still ripe, the yellow pear tomato. Now that we've harvested these classic favorites, let's take it to the next step and look at different ways that we can prepare these foods. Want to come join me in my kitchen? I thought so. Come on along. Hello, and welcome to my kitchen. Thank you for helping me harvest today in the garden. As you can see, we've brought a lot of great produce home. The yellow pear tomato, our lima bean, and lots of delicious crunchy kale. Now I'm going to be working on washing, cutting, and preparing this really good food. I'll start with washing the kale off. We always want to give our greens a nice wash in some fresh water. Now as I'm doing this, I'm thinking to myself, just because I enjoy these types of common foods that are grown in this area, sometimes I think about what other folks from around here, maybe they're from different cultural heritage and grow different foods than just our classic favorites. Do you grow something at home or have to go shopping at maybe a specialty shop to find certain foods that are less common in this area? Think about these important questions and prepare my favorite, but of the common food that's grown around here. I do think about different cultures and their cuisine. Cuisine is a cooking method or style that's very particular to a region of the world or a part of a country. Now, just because I enjoy these common foods, I do think about people who also live here but might be from different backgrounds and enjoy cooking other things. Now, in order to get more information about different cultures and their cuisine, I decided to take a look around my own community and see if I don't have any connections of folks that have a different background than me. Luckily, I ran into my good friend, Bo. She told me that she and her family live on their family farm just outside of La Crosse, and they grow lots of different types of produce than we do in our grow gardens. She's invited us to take a look with her family around their farm and show us a few different cooking methods of how they prepare their favorite cuisines. Join me and Bo out at their farm.
I am making 3 dishes today: pan-fried butter melon, pan-fried bok choy, and baked monk sausage. We grow the vegetables in our garden and the monk sausage is homemade. So butter melons can be prepared different ways. Today I'm just gonna slice them thinly and saute them on the pan. Usually you just have to scoop out the seeds, they're coarse and you kind of don't want to eat that. It's edible, my parents like it. You don't peel the outside only because the skin is so thin that there really isn't a skin to peel. So I'm using 4 small to medium sized bitter melons. You can use 2 large ones. This will feed a family of 4. If this is hard on your hands, you can also use a spoon. It's just faster for me to use my hands. So when the bitter melons get much bigger than these, and they turn kind of yellow, they're less bitter as well. They're more ripe. But right now, they're quite bitter. So I am just going to cut them into strips. You can cut them however you want to. You can diagonal cut them, or you can just do a straight on. Or you could do it to the side. Really doesn't matter. Alright, once you have all those cut, I'm going to set them aside. So I can get started on the bok choy. These are medium or larger size bok choy, and they're grown different sizes. I mean, here's a small one, but this was all the same plant. The bok choy this size can be sauteed whole. Today I am going to cut off the ends of the bok choy and just kind of give these a little cut, the leaves a little cut, just so that they cook better. These ends will take longer to cook. So I'm just gonna slice them just to help them cook a little more. And again, you can slice them however you like, however you want to. With the bok choy, I'm gonna add some garlic. And you can put as much as you want. I'm just doing 2 for the smell and the flavor. So we preheat the oven to about 400 degrees. It should bake for about 30 minutes to 35 minutes depending on the temperature. The heat is on high, and you can cook it at medium high or high. I added some oil into the pan. You can use any kind of oil. So right now the oil is heating up. You can hear it crackle. It's time to add the bitter melon. Covering the pan will help the vegetables cook faster. So it's getting close to being done. At this point you can season it however you like. My parents just like a little bit of salt. The bitter melon should be done in about 10 minutes or less. I just added some garlic into the oil. Pan-fried bok choy usually takes about 5 to 7 minutes. It doesn't take very long to cook. This is a very simple meal. We usually have rice, meat, and a few dishes of vegetables on the side. No.
Wow, that was so interesting. I'm really glad I reached out to Bo to further explain her culture's cuisine in such a great little cooking show. I learned some techniques. I saw some foods I've never seen before, the bitter melon. Also, I'm familiar with the bok choy, but it looks so tasty the way she prepared it. I'm definitely going to try it again in the future. Do you cook anything at home that is similar to what I'm making with my beans or with the kale? Or perhaps something that's similar to what Bo made and with her family? Take some time to write down your thoughts on what you've seen with Bo in her garden and what you got to experience in the Grow Gardens today. Well, thank you again for your help harvesting the delicious food today and exploring another culture's cuisine through our good friend Bo and her family. Now, I'm going to continue cooking my beans, preparing my kale for a salad, and I might even just enjoy one of these juicy yellow pear tomatoes as a snack. I appreciate your time, and thank you again for being here. We'll see you next week in the gardens. We would like to acknowledge that Grow Gardens occupy the traditional, ancestral, and contemporary lands of Indigenous people. The Ho-Chunk have been on these lands for over 3 ice ages, the Dakota to the west of the Mississippi for countless generations. Please join us to honor that heritage and sacred lands of all Indigenous people. This acknowledgement is an opportunity to increase awareness of the historical and present spiritual and personal significance of this land to its original stewards.